All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm just gonna get started with introduction. It is 1:55, so 1:54. So I'm just gonna get us started with a quick introduction of myself. I know some of you all may have actually attended one of the other sessions that I actually facilitated. If so, welcome back. My name is Janine Blunt. I've been working with Discovery Education now for about 8 years. I've used the resources in the classroom. I have worked with educators from pre-K all the way to high school, so 12th grade, using the resources, many different content areas. And so super excited to be with you for our last session with these ready to teach lesson resources. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in. As I shared in the other sessions in which I had a chance to facilitate, I do have a resource that I'm going to share with you all. I'm going to drop in the chat. It is a Padlet. Earlier today, we were talking about in our opening ceremonies how Padlet can be a great resource to use. I actually use Padlet to highlight the resources, a teacher resource guide for each of the sessions. So we're going to be using that last column. And that last column actually includes the teacher resource guide that goes along with this ready to teach lessons session that we're going to do right now. It highlights the strategies that we're going to use, or the strategy we're going to use, as well as some of the resources that I'm going to highlight for you all. It's always a good go-to to refer back to. If you're anything like me, I actually love to after a session, I kind of like to walk away, and then when I come back, I like to kind of click around to really kind of remember some of the things that I took away, but then I like to have something to refer back to, and a teacher resource guide does just that. So once again, like I said, welcome to the Ready to Teach lessons. So a few things, the social suggestions are always to make sure that our time together is a meaningful experience, it's interactive, and that you're able to make personal connections to your classrooms to help you basically take your lessons to the next level using digital resources. So welcome. With that being said, we're going to start being interactive right away. So as with all of the sessions, if you were with me earlier, we are going to start with a SOS, a Spotlight on Strategy. And this particular strategy we're going to use is going to allow us to kind of really get started in our exploration of the ready-to-use activities that Discovery has to offer. So the title of this particular strategy is called Activated, okay? And within this strategy, we're going to use the activated strategy to analyze some images, okay? And as we analyze these images, we're going to analyze two of them. So what I'd like you all to do is just take a minute. I think some of us might be taking digital notes, or if you're taking paper notes, that's fine as well. But we're going to go through these two slides. And what I'd like us to do is you're going to take a look at the slides, and you're going to read the prompt, and you're going to reflect on what the prompt is asking. So like in this first slide, it says, take a look. What do you notice? How does it speak to your curiosity? So just take a few minutes and just to think. So what do you notice, and how does it speak to your curiosity? And I'll give you a few minutes.
Oof, I wish you were at the beach.
Right, and I'm gonna go to our next one. Debated. Okay, so take a look at this one. What do you notice, and how does this particular slide speak to your curiosity? Okay. So I'm going to cycle back to our first one. So in our first slide, one thing to note is that this is an example of what we like to call our ready to teach resources. So this is a prompt, and basically the prompt basically uses a particular image. It may be a video, and it's basically to be able to get the students connected. So we used it as adults thinking about what we noticed, thinking about what sparked our curiosity. But these are particular ready to use activities that can help, that can be paired up with an instructional strategy, or that can be, if the instructional strategy is not there and you want to use another one, you can actually filter in another strategy as well. This also helps by helping the students really think on a related topic, making connections. Also, it allows students to really begin to think about, what could we be learning about if I'm just looking at an image, or if it's just something that, a video that's going to make me think. The second one is an image that basically kind of highlights some of our math talks. So math talks, what we're going to learn about momentarily, are different types of ready to teach activities that we do offer. So basically they provide support on discussions, and basically they help us to be able to help the students to make those connections as well. So, with that particular activity that we just did, our activator, so to say, choose a sentence stem that basically connects to what we saw with those two images. So, I'm curious about, the two are similar because, I was reminded of, blank is important because, I think because. So we're also going to use this connected as we go in and as we dive through the content of those ready to use activities as well. Is there anything that we could connect to when we looked at those two images? And if not, that's okay. We're just scratching the surface. Okay. So I want us to take a look at this particular quote as we dive in. And I'm going to give us a second just to read it to ourselves. And feel free, drop in the chat anything. How do you connect with this particular quote? Yes. Keeping students engaged through their curiosity. Yes. I think there's someone else that's typing right now as well. So as those last two people finish typing their response, um, basically that is spot on. We keep students engaged by sparking that curiosity in them. One thing that I will highlight as others are commenting in the chat, just remembering that the ready to use and ready to teach lesson resources that we have available, not only are there those resources, but there are a lot of other digital resources that you can use to spark the students' curiosity. But our goal is to make sure we provide instructional strategies and resources to help students to really be curious and to connect and to want to learn more. So thank you. For our session, and please continue if you'd like to drop more connections in the chat, please feel free to do so. Yes, it also makes it more meaningful. Yes, and developing skillful lifelong learners. I agree. I agree. So together today, what we are going to do, we're going to continue this process. And as we continue this process, we're going to look at some ready to teach resources to to help enhance your practice and get you a little more acclimated with some of the additional resources that Discovery has organized for us to use in our classrooms. Excuse me. So this is, of course, our agenda for our quick time together. So we're going to look at the ready to teach essentials. We're going to explore and kind of share our connections and talk about some of the resources that we'd like to use. We're going to also do a visual tour. You're going to find some resources in which I'm just going to share with you details about being able to copy them and share them and make them your own. And then just variations of connections that you can make, how you can use different strategies if you don't want to use the strategies that are already available within those particular ready to teach resources. Few things to note. I want us, as we go through, just being meaningful and just connecting, making personal connections. What I'd like us to do is start off by identifying our goals. So what are your instructional goals for this school year? We know we want to go in this school year feeling strong about helping the students to make connections, personal connections, as well as real world connections, and as also tapping into their curiosity. So thinking about your instructional goals, excuse me, then thinking about where you can find those ready to teach resources that support your goals. So feeling comfortable with searching through DE to find those resources that are going to support your lessons. And lastly, which ready to use resources connect with your curriculum and how you want to, thinking about how you want to use them. So being able to look at things from a place of supporting your planning as we get ready to dive into the new school year. So a few things to note when it comes to our essential companion, the top 5 things to know. Many of us who have used Discovery before, we know about how we can personalize our DE experience. Earlier today, I worked with a group on being able to find and save resources. We talked about ways to share and assign content. And I also worked with teachers to identify some strategies that can be used. And right now, we're going to talk about how to basically elevate with our ready to teach resources, which include all of those pieces, the SOS strategies, assigning and sharing resources, finding new additional resources, and being able to personalize your experience for your classroom. Okay, so when it comes to ready to use resources, Discovery has quite a few ready to use resources that are new. So for those who have used Discovery before, you're like, oh, I didn't know these were available. Some of them were available, but then we've gone in and added additional layers. Always listening to what teachers need and always being able to bring things to more of a light for students. So while lessons and activities have different formats, there are a few different ones that I'm going to share with you all. So the very first one you see on is when it comes to choice boards. So choice boards can be found in various content areas. They are ready to use resources that offer students choices on what they would like to explore while they're still exploring basically the content and the topic that you want them to explore. And they're often paired with an SOS strategy to help the students to dive in and really get engulfed with the content. The next one are background builders. So we have background builders, which include learning targets, and they support students in learning more about specific topics in social studies as well as in science. Some are newer resources, and basically they do have teachers' guides and teachers' notes that come available with them. Our next one is the student investigations. Students' investigations vary by topic also, but most of them follow the same flow. These are particular studio boards that were created basically with three things in mind. So they're made to support students with investigating, they're made to challenge the students, and they're made to help extend and explore more of that student learning. And it basically aligns with the phases of the learning. The other pieces that we have as our ready to teach resources, the student activities. These are ready to teach resources. They're quick and simple to use, along with SOS strategies. You can find them within all of the content areas. And then one of the other things that you can find is they're usually activities that are created with one or two slides in mind. So basically, it's basically a quick activity to basically activate students' thinking. Then we have our math talks and we have our math reviews. So math talks and math reviews are some of our newest ready to teach resources. These lessons center around math discourse. The math talks are designed to be teacher led, and the math reviews are designed to be assigned to students. So these also have, which majority of these, but this in particular also has the teacher's guides that are there, and the teacher's notes, so to say. And I will say this, even though the teacher's guides are there and the teacher's notes are there for you with these, you can always tweak them because you know your classroom and you know what's going to be which will work best for your classroom. Then the other piece are the lessons. So for lessons, there's lessons for science, there's lessons for social studies and language arts. These lessons are more in depth and structured. These are meant to be teacher led. And these lessons also are centered on, and I'm sorry, are centered on the science, the social studies, and there are four more of the informational texts. And then the last ready to teach resources that we have are the daily fix-its and the weekly edits. So these resources include grammar, language, and language convention. Basically, these are a month works of activities that are tied to different topics and events. The weekly edits are tied to relevant events as well. And they're just quick grammar checks. You can use it for grammar practice. Both of these resources include educators' guides, as well as teacher notebooks. Weekly edits also include new grammar infographics as well. So there are a few that we may have seen before, we may have used, but then there are quite a few that have been added. I will also say that with the ones that do have the teacher guides and the teacher notes, they are a great way to see how you can do it and how you can use it and how you're able to infuse it with the units that you're currently teaching. So going back to the strategy Explore It, what we're going to do is I'm going to have us to dive into some of the examples that I just shared with you. And as you are diving into some of these examples of these ready to teach resources, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to think about two of these sentence starters that you would want to use to kind of make connections to what you're going to look at. So one is, I am curious about. I observed blank and I noticed blank. I need help with blank. Blank is important because, and I think because blank. So as you're going in to take a look at these resources, and what I'm about to do is I'm going to drop for you, and this particular resource that I'm going to share with you is a studio board that highlights some of the ready to use activities. I want you to look at some of the examples that I actually just shared with you all. And for those, I know I didn't forgot to say it, as you're getting acclimated with the resources, please click around. I'm going to go live to site. If you have not already done so, in order to access these materials, please make sure you're logged into your Discovery account. You all log into your Discovery accounts via Clever. And then once you're logged into your Discovery account, then you'll be able to click on the link and see the resources that I'm going to share with you. So I'm going to drop the link for those who are already logged in to access the link. And then I'm actually going to go live the site so that you can also see the resources that I want you to take a look at. And then I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to explore the resources. Give me one moment to toggle to my Discovery account. All right. So for those who just got logged into your Discovery account, of course, it took you to your home page. And if you click on the link in the chat, what you'll notice is it'll take you to a page that looks like this. And it's a studio board that says Ready to Teach Resources. So what I'd like you to do is notice the different resources, Ready to Teach resources that I shared with you are here. So the choice board, the background builders, the student investigation, student activities, all of these resources are here. So what I'd like you to do is click around. So what you'll know is if you click next, it's going to give you some different examples of choice boards. It's an interactive, and of course, you might not be able to see the the lesson that opened up. And let me share that tab. So this was the lesson when I clicked on the first one, Meet the Magnets, that opened up. Here's a particular example where it does have the slides that you need, the teacher's notes, as well as the different activities that are there for you as well. This is a particular example of you can present to the whole class, you can assign it to the students. But what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take about 5 minutes, and I know 5 minutes isn't a lot of time, but that'll get us started, to take a look at each of the different types of Ready to Teach resources, whether it's the choice board, whether it's the background builders, or the student investigations, or any of the other ones we talked about. As you are exploring, if you have questions, please feel free to drop the questions in the chat, and please feel free to come off of mute. But go ahead and take a moment to explore those. And I think because there are so many different ones, instead of 5 minutes, I'm going to give us about 10 minutes so we can explore at least one from each of the areas. So whether it be student investigations or any of those areas, please experience just one of those Ready to Teach resources. And please let me know if you were not able to access, if you weren't able to access the studio board. Take about 3 more minutes to explore. And then I'm going to move us on. All right, we're gonna stop and come back together for a moment. And what I'd like to do, I'm going to actually ask just for a little bit of participation. As I shared at the beginning, this can be in the chat or you can come off mute to participate as well. But using our strategy that we were talking about before we started to look at some of the ready to teach activities. Um, I'd like us to use one of the sentence stems. So, based upon what you looked at, I'd like you to use the sentence stem. I'm curious about, I observed blank, and I noticed blank. I need help with blank. Blank is important because blank, or I think blank because. So use one of the sentence stems, and as I shared, you can drop it in the chat or you can come off mute just to explain a little bit about your exploration. And I see that there are some people typing, so go ahead. And like I said, if you do want to come off mute, feel free. So I am curious about blank. What are you curious about? I observed blank and noticed blank. I need help with blank. Blank is important because blank, and I think blank because blank. Anyone, come off mute, or if you're like some of our colleagues dropping in the chat, perfect. So choice boards are important because they give students the options to customize their learning experience based on their interests. Thank you. Ms. Torres, I appreciate that. Let's see, we have a few other people who are answering as well. And I know we didn't have a whole big chunk of time. I'm going to give us a little bit more time to explore and identify those that we do want to save and use, and then to find others that we might want to use. I'm waiting for one more to come through to share one more answer. I'm curious if the SOS instructional strategies activity templates are available in Spanish. That is a great question. So, while the activities, I don't believe the activity sheets come in Spanish. So the ones that are the PDFs that we as the teachers view, I do believe though that they have been able to you have some of the videos, so the student videos that are in English and in Spanish. So what I would say to you is, if by chance with one of the activities that you see that it might be a student video that's in English, I would look to see if just in a search, look for that particular strategy, and they may have that video also, the student video in Spanish as well. But I'm not quite sure. I'm kind of sure, more than sure, that the PDF versions that are our teachers' versions are not. Just to answer that question. Um, okay, two great questions. Two great answers. Which one of them is a question? I did want to just highlight a few additional things before I actually go back in and share some things as well. So one thing that I did want to know as well was, so when it comes to your essentials, so your ready to teach resources, we're going to go back in and you'll be able to look at the board again for those resources. I do want to say, I want you to, and I'm going to share with you how you can kind of view things from what the students will see from a student view. I also want to share with you how do you present to the class. I'm going to share with you how to assign, and then we did get a chance already to see the teacher's notes, but I'm going to highlight a few additional things that I wanted you to note within the teacher's notes within one of the activities. After I share those things with you, I really would impress upon you to go back in, look at some of the additional resources, just like the young lady that had asked me about the SOS instructional strategies in Spanish. The activities, look for the videos that are in Spanish, because like I said, I do believe they have them in English and in Spanish. And then I would also impress upon you to save some of the ready to teach activities that you find as well. So what I'm going to do really quickly is I'm going to take us live to site, and I'm going to highlight, give me 1 second. I'm going to highlight for you all the one of the daily fix it lessons. If it'll, okay, so it took me back to the home page. So let me take you off of the home page. So the one that I'm going to share with you is, so from the daily fix it, I actually I clicked on one of the daily fix-it activities. So this is the August daily fix-it activity. And one of the things that I did want to highlight was a few different things. So when it comes to the daily activities, one of the things when it shows view as student, this is where you can basically click on this particular button and you're able to toggle it. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to help you to see what your view from the student view is going to look like if you assign it to them. And then, of course, what I'm going to share with you next is what it'll look like if you use this particular resource with the students, with the whole class view. But notice at the top with any of the resources, the majority of the resources are editable, and you actually can go in and take a look at what the student view looks like. You're able to take a look at what it looks like when you're presenting it to the class, and you're able to assign it. So what you'll notice is it comes up as slides for the students and this will be the student view. When you toggle the button back off, this is what we see from the teacher's view. So a few things to note: we did see the description. This shares with us that this particular daily fix-it lesson can be used for grades 3, 4, and 5. If you are able to scaffold down and you want to use it for younger grades, that's a possibility as well. There's really no right or wrong way. The other thing to note is you also have an area where you can click where it'll connect you to any curriculum standards that are connected. And then the teacher's notes. I had someone in an earlier session today share how helpful, like with one of the other ready to use lessons, the teacher's notes were helpful. So with this one being able to see, so for August, it says estimated time, 5 to 7 minutes for each day. Few things to know: it says suggestions, select corresponding day of the month to jump to that day's activity. Notice in preparation, it says you can download, print, and make copies of the Daily Fix-It Student Note Taker. Also, you can print the Daily Fix-It Educator's Guide as well. You can make copies, you can make edits, you can make changes. One of the other things that I do like with this is that with the daily teacher's notes, it gives you the ability as you're going in and you're looking at all of the resources that are available to edit it and to differentiate it to the way that it's going to work best for your class. The other thing that I did want to highlight as well, if you want to put it in present to class in that mode, it'll basically open up, as you can see on my screen, in that slideshow feature. So a few things to note: it'll give you that same ability to interact with the particular resources. So this talks about August 1st, the Star Spangled Banner. If you click on it, it basically has the answer for the question. Then the same thing, the poem was set to music in 1931. It was made the national anthem. If you click on it, the poem was in 1931. It was made the national anthem. It gives you a little more information about it, but it's still interactive if you use this particular mode for the whole class version as well. And then assigning. So when you assign, once your students are in the your rosters are in and your students are in the system, you have the ability to assign to students using a link, or you can assign to your students once your classroom is set up. I created a demo class. When you're assigning these lessons, if you're doing them, using them individually or in groups, you can basically click on the particular class, click next. Once you click next, you're able to identify a start date and identify a due date, and then you're able to assign to the students, and it'll assign it to them in their Discovery accounts. The positive with the link is you're able to use, you're able to generate a link and use the link in, if it's Clever, if it's Teams, however you want to use the link for the students to get the content, you're able to do it that way as well. And let me go back for 1 second. I'm going to go back to the ready to teach resources. One of the things that I will say, I just use the daily fix it and weekly edits, but just to share that example. But even when it comes to the lessons, notice that the grade bands may vary when it comes to the lessons or any of these resources. The other thing to note is when it comes to student activities, the student activities are not just contained to individuals. You can use them whole class as well as in small groups. So what I do want to do is, I'm not quite sure, and I don't think your students' rosters or anything like that are in yet. I would like you to take a look at the teacher notes. I also would like you to go in and take some time to take a look at assigning and toggling between student view as well as presentation view. As you are doing that, and I'm going to give us, because I know we only have a few more moments to go, but I'm going to give us about 5 minutes to explore a little bit more in that realm. And then the other thing, if there are any questions as you're exploring, please, please, please ask those questions as well. And I see there's more in our chat. I love quick bell ringers. Yes. So there are, to that answer, there are resources that are, I don't know exactly what, but there are some of the resources, the teacher, the ready to teach lessons that are in Spanish and in English. It's just a part of, these are a few that are highlighted on the studio board, but in your search, and let me, while I'm doing this, I'm going to take us back to the home page. Give me 1 second, and you can continue to click around. It's going to put ready to teach in, and so you can kind of see some of the other resources that are available. So I did do my search. I just put in student investigations. And let me see, it's just different student investigations. I didn't put in any particular topic in, but you are able with your filters to filter down language wise. So if you are looking for resources in Spanish, let's say if you're looking for some student investigations, I know this one, and then it has different dialects of Spanish as well. But this one has some of the PDF activities that are in Spanish, and you can filter down that way. Let me check these out. Yes, Spanish worksheets. So some of the worksheets are already, they are already translated. So there are a few different resources. I would always say that depending on what activity that you're looking for. So like this is one of the Martin's Laws worksheets, PDFs, and then it has some more resources that you can use along with it. So some of the PDF versions, yes, have been translated. I thought it was just the videos, but some of the PDF versions. So it just depends on what you're looking for. Note that there will be resources. I wouldn't just stop at, so like let's say if there was another resource that you were looking at in the ready to use, maybe a choice board or maybe background builders, I would see within that particular area basically which if they're, I would search it and see if they do have a Spanish version of those resources, which they probably do. No problem. So as I said, please take, we have about 2 more minutes to just kind of explore. Please take those last 2 minutes to take a look. Like I said, save. I would love for you to make sure you save your teacher resource guide. The teacher resource guide has the ready to use resources. What I will do, just as a reminder, when it comes to the teacher resources, um, the studio board that you're exploring right now, one of the things to note is you are able to, if I click here, you're able to make a copy of it. So if you want to copy it yourself, this is a studio board that is an example of how you can actually create a resource, but you can copy it yourself and it's going to save in your Discovery account. But from your teacher resource guide, you're able to get to this particular resource, and then you're also able to go in and you're able to take a look at like the choice boards. So this one, like I said, with the magnetic fields, please, please, please always say, go ahead, go in. If you find something that you want to use, please take a moment to use that particular resource. If you want to assign it, or play with what it looks like to assign it. It'll probably just give you the link until your classes are in there, but please play around with those features. But also, if you want to save it to your favorites, basically, you can click on the heart. Then also, if you want to add it to your My Content, you can click on Add to your My Content, and basically you can create a folder maybe for ready to use assignments. So if I'm just going to call it R. And I'm going to click my, and so that's going to be my ready to use assignments folder. And I'm going to just add this particular one about the magnets. So just know any of the ready to use resources that you do find that you do want to use, you can save them, you can do edits. One other thing that I didn't know when we first took a look at the, what was it? The resource for it was that there are also the channels. So from the ready to use resources, you'll notice that there are channels. So instructional activity lessons, the week junior lessons. So there are all of those resources. This summer learning, of course, we're coming out of the summer, so you wouldn't need those. But math context, need to know junior, all of those resources, you're able to take a look. And these are just channels that you're able to put into your search bar and add those channels that are interactive, ready to use resources as well. And you're able to save them to your home page. As we get ready to close out, I am going to toggle back over really quickly to my presentation, and I'm going to ask if there are any questions. Please feel free to ask any other questions that you might have. But what I did want to do is I wanted to just in best practices cycle back. We used Spotlight on, we used a strategy for each of the sessions that I did. And so I just wanted to kind of cycle back to the strategy that we were using when we were talking about our sentence stems. And I don't know if anyone wanted to kind of highlight just some of the different ways that they could implement or use this particular strategy. So I did want to highlight some of the sentence ways to use the strategy. So one way to use the the stem completion or the sentence stem strategy is you can have the students preview an image, a text using sentence stems to make predictions about content. You can have the students revisit their individual ideas, making updates to their sentence stems as they provide, find more evidence. The other thing that you can do is to help them build on their knowledge. Post the sentence stems on an anchor chart and prompt the students to use these stems on a regular basis to support their collaborative discussions. You can also, after the learning and as they're applying, you can have the students to take a look at the sentence stems that they wrote before, recreate them and share the different ones and have them use some of the common vocabulary and key ideas that they learned when they were actually doing their research. Another way that students can use sentence completion, so like independently have the students use the STEM completions to write an exit ticket. Whole group share sentence stems out with the whole class, curating them on a board or on a Padlet, like we use the Padlet or a studio board. Look for connections and have the group to discuss. And then for small groups, having each of the students write 3 sentences using using their stems, and have them create a paragraph using the sentences. So there's so many different ways that they can use the SOS strategies, but there's also so many different ways that when it comes to the ready to use lessons or any of the other resources that we have, that they can actually use the strategies as well. So I hope you were able to really think about what your instructional goals are going to be for this school year. I hope you were able to find some resources, identify some resources that within DE that you would be able to use as you're ready to use lessons. And knowing that you can tweak them, knowing that they're editable, knowing that there is no right or wrong way to use the resources. And then I hope you were able to save them so that you're able to use them when you are ready to use them. And the last piece of what I'll share with you is, as I shared, if you look in that 4th column, you'll see the teacher resource guide that you can refer back to, that has the strategies, that also has the studio board with the ready to use activity examples if you want to take a look at those. But please, please, please dive in, search, save, assign, and spark the students' curiosity. Are there any questions with the last few minutes that we have together? As people are writing their questions in, feel free to explore more. Feel free to drop questions in. You are more than welcome. Feel free to drop any questions in, but I am here with you all until 2:55. So questions, feel free to explore. And thank you. You guys were a great group. I'm super excited to hear about how you guys are going to use these ready to use activities, as well as some of the other activities if you were with me earlier today.
Thank you so much, Miss Janine.
You're more than welcome.
You're a great presenter. Very good information. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Great group. I wish you guys a great school year.